The Sovereign International Treasury Monetary 1. Date March 13, 2022. Resolution No. 15. Withdrawal of assets in order to eliminate all forms of discrimination, genocide of peoples. We are guided by previous resolutions and statements of the International Treasury Monetary 1, reaffirming Resolution No. 1 of April 7, 2020, on the way out of the global financial crisis. Resolution No. 2 of June 2, 2020, the only way out of the global financial crisis. Resolution No. 4 of February 23, 2021, cancellation of historical assets in order to form a balanced new financial system. Resolution No. 5 of July 16, 2021. Resolution No. 6 of September 13, 2021. Resolution No. 7 of October 1, 2021. Reform of the global financial and economic system and its architecture. Resolution No. 11 of January 22, 2022. On the termination of all relations with the well-known surname of financiers Rothschild. Resolution No. 12, dated February 27, 2022. Revocation of all asset rights from the Trilateral Commission of the Trillium Gold Reserve and New World Order Financial System Trusts. Resolution No. 13, dated March 1, 2022. Determining the role of the State Bank of the USSR in restructuring the global financial and economic system and its architecture, activating new functions. Resolution No. 14, dated March 3, 2022. Revocation of all assets in order to prevent the Third World War and prevent the return of Nazism. The International Treasury Monetary 1 recognizes that the peoples of the world ardently desire an end to colonialism and all its manifestations. The International Treasury Monetary 1 proceeds from the conviction that the continued existence of colonialism impedes the development of international economic cooperation, delays the social, cultural, and economic development of dependent peoples, and runs counter to the ideals of world peace. The International Treasury Monetary 1 confirms that people in their own interests can freely dispose of their natural wealth and resources, without violating any obligations arising from international economic cooperation based on the principle of mutual benefit and the norms of international law. The International Treasury Monetary 1 believes that the process of liberation can neither be stopped nor reversed, and that in order to avoid serious crises, colonialism and any practice of segregation and discrimination associated with it must be ended. The International Treasury Monetary 1 proceeds from the conviction that all peoples have an inalienable right to complete freedom, the exercise of their sovereignty, and the integrity of national territory. The International Treasury Monetary 1 solemnly proclaims the need to put an immediate and unconditional end to colonialism in all its forms and manifestations. The International Treasury Monetary 1 reminds of the active and covert activities of the City of London, as the financial heart of British Empire, which has been dominant power in the world and whose decline in influence has begun in recent years. The main idea of the Privy Council, the Secret Group Round Table, the organization of the Second Circle, the Round Table Group, covering the USA and European countries, is that for centuries how the City of London has remained the center of preparation and implementation plan to create an Anglo-Saxon empire, which should be covered the entire planet. Until the end of the 20th century, the money from banks of the City of London was the main resource of global Anglo-Saxon expansion. They worked to prepare wars, revolutions, economic crises, and other upheavals. These upheavals brought untold profits to the bankers of the City of London, but their main goal wasn't even territorial seizures and money, but a change in the consciousness of people. The Anglo-Saxon elite feel like a superior race and believe that the rest should be turned into subhumans. One of their main tools was every kind of lowering of the mental development of those who didn't fall into the circle of the world elite. The most important weapon in their hands a small group of people has become the United States of America, with whose hands the City of London creates wars and genocides of the peoples on earth. The International Treasury Monetary 1 once again reminds of the ongoing changes on earth and inevitable punishment for these crimes against humanity, because it is impossible to hide before divine providence. The punishment is inevitable. In this regard, the International Treasury Monetary 1 continues to act within the framework of Resolution No. 14, dated March 3, 2022, revocation of assets in order to prevent the Third World War and prevent the return of Nazism, and declares active work in blocking all system access codes in accounting, distribution, and control. which these groups and all their affiliated organizations, banks, companies of the City of London had. The International Treasury Monetary One reminds that any theory that attributes superiority or inferiority to certain racial or ethnic groups, that gives some people the right to dominate others or reject others who are supposedly inferior to the first, or that bases judgments of value or rational differences, is scientifically untenable and contrary to moral and ethical principles of humanity. The International Treasury Monetary One reminds that racism includes racist ideology, attitudes based on racial prejudice, discriminatory behavior, structural organization, and institutionalized practices leading to racial inequality, as well as the vicious idea that discriminatory relations between groups are morally and scientific points of view. Racism manifests itself in discriminatory laws and regulations and discriminatory practices, as well as in antisocial attitudes and acts. Racism hinders the development of its victims, corrupts those who planted the practice, internally divides nations, creates obstacles in the way of international cooperation, and inflames political tension and relations between peoples. Racism is contrary to the basic principles of international law, and therefore poses a serious threat to international peace and security. The International Treasury Monetary One reminds that racial prejudice historically associated with inequalities in power, reinforced by economic and social differences between humans and groups of humans, and even today designed to justify such inequalities, is completely unjustified. The International Treasury Monetary One draws attention to any distinction, exclusion, a limitation of preference based on race, color, ethnic or national origin, or religious intolerance based on racist beliefs that violates or endangers the sovereign equality of states and the right of people to self-determination, of which, in an arbitrary or discriminatory manner, restricts the right to full development of any person or group of persons, which implies absolutely equal access to the means of progress and the full flourishing of the individual and the collective in an atmosphere of respectful values, as well as national and world culture, is incompatible with the requirements of just international order that guarantees respect for human rights. The International Treasury Monetary One states that subjugation and exploitation of peoples to foreign yoke and domination to their exploitation is denial of the fundamental human rights and hinders the development of cooperation and the establishment of peace throughout the world. All peoples have a right to self-determination. By virtue of this right, they freely determine their political status and pursue their economic, social, and cultural development. Insufficient political, economic, and social preparedness or insufficient education should never be used as an excuse to delay the achievement of independence. Any military activities or repressive measures of whatever nature directed against dependent peoples must cease in order to enable them to exercise in peace and freedom their right to full independence, and the integrity of their national territories must be respected. In the trust and non-self-governing territories, as well as in the other territories not yet independent, measures must be taken immediately to transfer all power to peoples of these territories, in accordance with their freely expressed will and desire, without any conditions whatsoever or reservations and regardless of race, religion, or color, in order to enable them to enjoy complete independence and freedom. Any attempt aimed at partially or completely destroying the national unity and territorial integrity of the country is incompatible with the purposes and principles of the International Treasury Monetary One. All states must strictly and consciously observe the provisions of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and other declarations on the basis of equality, non-interference in the global affairs of all states, respect for the sovereign rights of all peoples, and the territorial integrity of their states. The International Treasury Monetary One confirms its openness and creative intentions in providing comprehensive financial assistance in building an independent economy to countries that have decided to get out of colonial dependence of the Anglo-Saxon yoke and American influence. The International Treasury Monetary One draws attention to the start of the process of losing the role of the United Nations as a platform for discussing issues of world order and preventing wars. Instead of maintaining its status as an international organization created to maintain and strengthen international peace and security, as well as to develop cooperation between states, the UN shows the whole world its insufficiency and unwillingness to promote the peaceful settlement of conflicts, and formed on the basis of loss of confidence of the participating countries in connection with the situation around Russia and the conflict in Ukraine, in which all countries have become involved, wanting to inflict maximum damage on Russia, showing intolerance and confirming the intention to destroy Russia. Today, military personnel mercenaries from more than 48 countries have already been sent to the territory of Ukraine to battle with Russia, and comprehensive support is being provided to the Nazis. All statements by Russia about Nazism are being ignored, and persecution is being openly carried out, causing irreparable damage to the peoples of Russia. The International Treasury Monetary Fund calls on the international community to pay attention to the efforts of the most of the UN member states, which are leading to the collapse of the foundation of the UN, and calls on the countries to reflect on what is happening and make efforts to strengthen the role of the UN in solving political and world order issues. The International Treasury Monetary Fund encourages states to consider using bilateral and multilateral constellations in order to better understand each other's views, positions, and interests. The International Treasury Monetary Fund once again confirms the recall of all assets previously transferred under the management and disposal of the Russian Federation, as the republics of the USSR, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, Belarus, Moldavia, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Ukraine, Georgia, Armenia, Azerbaijan, as the transfer of these assets under the management and disposal of the Sovereign Bank and the Sovereign Military Hospital Order of St. John of Jerusalem, of Rhodes, and of Malta. Having studied a large amount of information on all war crimes of the United States of America, we draw attention to the fact that the actions of the United States under the slogans of promoting democracy show the whole dark side of the world, forming around the United States the opinion of the devil-chosen people of the United States of America, which is fundamentally wrong because not all US citizens share the opinion of their ruling elites. Other forms of the US policy and practices of segregation and racial discrimination constitute a crime against the conscience and dignity of humanity and may cause political tension and pose a serious threat to international peace and security. The principle of equality in dignity and rights of all humans and all nations, regardless of race, color, or origin, is generally accepted principle, recognized as the international law. Consequently, any form of discrimination carried out by the state is a violation of international law, entailing the international responsibility of the state. The International Treasury Monetary Fund, following the implementation of the task set, has come to a final, irrevocable decision and introduces the following solutions. We revoke all rights to assets that were previously transferred under the management and disposal in the following country, organizations, groups, persons placed in central, national, or state banks, commercial banks in different countries around the world. We activate the blocking of all system access codes for accounting, distribution, and control which these groups and all the affiliated organizations, banks, companies had. In connection with the transfer of assets to our full disposal and management, observing all the norms of international law, the assets are entered into the balance of the International Treasury Monetary Fund. In this regard, we strongly recommend starting the procedure of removal from the balance of these assets and all securities formed on the basis of these assets and gradually begin the liquidation of valid and fit financial resources receiving during the period of using these assets. There is no possibility to consider preservation of foreign securities, valid and fit financial resources, on the basis of assets that have not been put in use and have not been sent to social projects up to this point. Likewise, consideration of proposals is impossible. The International Treasury Monetary Fund once again thanks and welcomes the existing cooperation with the Federal Reserve System for the formation of a new architecture of the global financial system, and once again confirms its openness to dialogue in connection with the need to minimize the consequences of the US citizens of possible asset blocking. In this regard, having studied the importance of the current American financial system for the whole world, we believe that there is a basis for starting the negotiation process. From the moment of receipt of this notification, to make the necessary system notifications in the global financial system within 48 hours in order to notify all banking and interbank organizations in a timely manner, we instruct US teamed organization. We remind that any action using the above assets for the purpose of monetization in the financial system are a crime under personal and individual responsibility of persons, officials, and bank officers who commit these crimes. We remind that in order to prevent fraud and deception of bona fide subjects of law, it is prescribed to transfer the register of documents for entry into the liquidation memorandum for the purpose of accounting, analysis, and evaluation of the integrity of ex-guardians, ex-holders, and ex-managers of the right to manage historical assets of the global financial system. We remind that sacred rights of the guardians of the above assets have been revoked, and any actions contrary to the resolution of the International Treasury and all force, dated February 23, 2021, is the cancellation of historical assets in order to form a new well-balanced financial system, will have immediate, inescapable, sacred, and obvious consequences for the guardians with this manifestation in the material world. Approved, completed, and executed. Date 15th of March 2022. His Majesty Alexander Nikolaevich Paramonov, Secretary General, Chief Treasurer of the International Treasury Monetary One, President and Chief Operating Officer of Vice Spiritual Board, RSB Global Corp Incorporated. UNNO 509-519. Om.